It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start with Democrats being democracy-denying insurrectionists. Fancy having no king's rallies. You don't have a king. You have a duly elected president who won the election in a landslide against the candidate you undemocratically installed. Remember Kamala and that sham process? We certainly do. And there were plenty of celebrity idiots at these rallies, including the dangerously stupid Mark Ruffalo.
The likes of Putin and Netanyahu and Kim Jong-un of the world.
Also at the rally were the likes of Susan Sarandon, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Glenn Close, and the unfunniest man on the planet, Jimmy Kimmel. Sadly, Eva Longoria couldn't be there, but she recorded this message earlier.
Every time I try to record a message, I just start crying, and then I don't want it to be about me and my emotions about it, but it's just so inhumane, hard to watch. It's hard to witness from afar. I can't imagine what it's like to be in Los Angeles right now. I can't believe it's happening in Austin, Texas. I can't believe it's happening all over the country. The comments and people's reactions to it is really so surprising to me because it is un-American.
She's shocked by people's reactions. These people really do exist in a parallel universe. The deportation program, as we discussed at length last week, is enormously popular. Trump campaigned on it, he won on it, he has a mandate, and the group who have swung most strongly in support of his tough immigration policies are immigrants themselves, legal ones. But the question has to be asked, what is it with Democrats and violence? They cannot even hold a dumb democracy-denying rally without turning on each other. Let's check what happened in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh my God, that's a gun. That's a gun. Come on. Come on. Get out. Get over here. Shay, come here.
According to police, a man who was believed to be part of a peacekeeping team for the No Kings protest shot at another person at that rally, Arturo Gamboa, who was brandishing a rifle for some reason. And this No Kings peacekeeping team member managed to strike both the rifleman and an innocent bystander who tragically later died at hospital. Now, Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey has no time for lawless rioters, those incapable of holding a peaceful protest. Here he tells them precisely what will happen if they try that sort of crap in Florida.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop.
Gotta love him, but can we really be shocked by the way Democrat supporters are behaving when this is an example of their representatives? Watch the behaviour here of Senator Alex Padilla, who tried to gatecrash Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem's press conference.
Hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
Many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty.
Yes, that's a senator. Unhinged antics. The senator messed around and he found out.
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you don't my hands, go ahead, put them behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir.
Other hand.
And the Democrats and their media lapdogs acted like he was the victim. This was a sign of a dictatorship that a senator would be crash-tackled. They gave this clown a platform to spew this nonsense. Here he is on MSNBC.
Democrats say that Secretary Noem should resign. Is that where you are?
Look, that's maybe not my focus right now, but I do think there's some serious questions. How does the cabinet secretary not know the senator from California when she steps foot into Los Angeles? She came through the Center for Confirmation at one point, and certainly how does the Secretary of Homeland Security not know how to de-escalate a situation? It's because she can't or because they don't want to.
Even the baseball wasn't safe from these activists. We had this bit of tone-deaf activism at Dodger Stadium on the weekend. Here is singer Vanessa Hernandez, known as Neza. No, I've never heard of her either. Anyway, here she is being told to sing the national anthem in English, obviously, but instead she sang it, screeched it really, in Spanish, and then she cried about it.
It's okay. We are going to do the song in English today, so I'm not sure.
Today, out of all days, I could not. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just could not believe when she walked in and told me no. But I just felt like I needed to do it. Para mi gente.
Hero. I wonder if she's worked out why Mexicans speak Spanish. Could it be because they were conquered, Neza, colonised by Spain? She's singing the language of the colonisers, but she wants you to know she's very proud.
I'm proud of myself for doing that today. Because my parents are immigrants. And they've been citizens like my whole life at this point. They got documented really early, but I just can't imagine them being ripped away from me, even at this age, like, let alone like a little kid. Like, what are we doing?
So your parents are legal migrants and no parent is ripped away from their kid. The kids go back with them to the parents' home country. What we're doing, you asked, we're enforcing the law. That's what's happening in America, you know, like Obama did when he deported a record number of illegal immigrants, more than 2.5 million, earning himself the nickname the Deporter-in-Chief. Have we forgotten about that? And though the protesters claim this is about no kings, it's about due process, what they really want to do is overturn the entire system, democracy, capitalism. They want to burn it all down. Here is Army Horowitz undercover in a keffiyeh, and he gets the protesters to say the quiet bit out loud.
But is it more about due process or more about overturning the system?
Overturning the system.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we have to overturn the system.
Overturn this whole American system.
The whole system needs to come down.
Do we want to replace it with what?
I don't.
Do we
That's
need?
the thing. That's the thing. This might turn into something else. Those 13, how many countries are being banned from traveling?
Yeah.
They might have something as well beyond this too.
I mean, maybe we go the Haiti system, or
it might spark
Yemen or Afghanistan. Exactly. That might work better.
Exactly.
Do you condemn the violence?
Never.
Do I condemn violence?
Yeah.
I don't condemn people for fighting what they believe is right.
In order to get your point across, sometimes there has to be violence.
Do you really condemn the violence, or do you understand it?
I would stand it. Stand up against the bully. Somebody's going to need violence.
So we need violence.
Because we're going to continue to bite the hand that you think the fuck feeds us.
This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of what's yet to come.
Can you condemn the violence, or do you understand it?
I understand.
I understand it.
We need to break shit down before we can rebuild.
Burn it down.
Burn it down.
Joining me now is filmmaker and journalist Army Horowitz. Army, were you cherry picking there, or was that the majority opinion amongst the protesters you spoke to?
Yeah, so generally the way I work, I lift the kimono a little bit, let you in on the process. Look, when I do a video, what you see is the majority view of who I speak with. Sure, there might be dissenters who think differently, but if they're not the majority voice, the video doesn't go out, or I make the video to reflect that. So generally in my videos, that's the majority voice. This video, Rita, was different. This was Every single person. In fact, I had an addendum at the end of the video stating that. I spoke with over 30 people over the course of a number of hours, and not a single person deviated from the views you just heard. You know, I also shot another segment I didn't put in the video, but I also asked them, are we on stolen land? Or should we give this land we're talking about is California, Arizona, New Mexico. Should we give it back to Mexico? They all said yes, or they said give it back to the natives. Look, let's be clear about something. These people are not stupid. I know it's an easy tag to put on people, say, oh, they're just fools, they're useful idiots. No, Rita, they know exactly what they're doing. You know, it always got me upset during the Palestinian pro-Hamas protests when people said, oh, they're just fools, they don't know what they're doing. I'm sorry, you hollowing out the power of their intent by saying that. They know exactly what they were doing then. They were calling for the genocide of the Jewish people, the destruction of the state of Israel. They knew exactly what from the river to the sea meant. They may not have known which river, which sea. That's a geography lesson. It has nothing to do with the reality of how they felt. Same thing with this. They're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. The entire time, Rita, there was an undercurrent of violence, right? The violence broke out night after night in Los Angeles. And you can feel it even in the daytime. Or if you said the wrong thing or they thought you were the wrong person, they would take you down. I was standing there when somebody said, I love America, and took out an American flag, and they beat him, just like they beat me in the campus at CUNY. When I took out the American flag, the same thing happened here. It's the same. People wearing keffiyehs there. That's on purpose. There's an interconnection, the intersectionality between these people and the pro-Hamas voters. This is where we're at in this country, where they want the destruction
it's the same
of the United
crowd.
States. You know? Yes, no question about it.
It is the same crowd. I mean, they are the same anti-American, anti-Western civilization crowd, whether it's BLM riots, whether it's pro-Hamas, whether it's crazy environmentalists, or in this case, these anti-Trump, anti-ICE. They're the same crowd. And what's worrying there, as you showed in the video, was that they have no issues with violence. Not only do they tolerate violence, they think it is a sound method to achieve their goals.
Absolutely. No question about it. And by the way, and we saw it night after night, not in LA, all the BLM riots. You know, I was also the Kings protest, the No Kings protest that in New York. And they did, look, what you heard everyone whispering and talking and saying, you could hear them say it. Look, no violence, let's not create violence, even though that's where their intention was going. But they put it out there because they know that it's an issue for the narrative if they were violent. And I asked these people in the No Kings protest the same questions. And while it wasn't as across the board as it was in Los Angeles, I would say it's about 50% of people, I asked the same questions. 50% of the people at the No Kings protest felt the same way. They defended violence. They said this is stolen land. They didn't say this is not about due process, it's about destroying the system. So look, this is the left unmasked. Straight up, pure and simple.
It is. And you only have to wear a keffiyeh and walk amongst them, and they will say all those quiet bits out loud, the things they don't say on the sound bites, and because they know the violence is counterproductive as far as winning public support. They're not stupid, but they're more than ready to act violently. And let's have a look here at CBS. They're copping some criticism for promoting the rally, promoting it, and even promoting merchandise for the rally. Look at this. No King's Day merch for sale on Amazon, Temu and other e-commerce sites. I mean, have they given up any pretense of being a news organisation, Army?
Yeah, it's not CBS. It's all of them, right? I mean, all of them are simply at this point, they're just pushing a narrative. They're polemic. It's polemic. It's not news. It's not reporting. Look, Rita, I was at the protest and I saw in the LA protest, and I saw them asking questions, and in a couple of cases, the same people that I spoke with, and they're asking the most anodyne questions possible, right? They didn't cut to the heart of the matter of why you're here. They could have asked the same questions I did. It's obvious The night before, there was a tremendous amount of violence. They didn't ask them anything about the violence, whether or not you supported them. This is how the media, mainstream media works. They are pushing narratives. They are not trying to report on actual news on what's happening. And it frankly reminded me of the BLM riots. The same thing. I asked the BLM rioters the same type of questions about America, the heart of how they believe, what they believed in, and then saw CNN and NBC and CBS and ABC ask ridiculously questions that didn't get to the heart of anything. I saw, Rita, I was at, if you remember, the burning down of the federal building in Portland. And I remember that all these camera crews, their cameras were down when these BLM rioters were trying to burn the building down. And then the cameras went up when the federal officers came out and threw out tear gas, as if they were doing it unprovoked. This is the business of the media organizations today, Rita.
Well, that's why trust in the media in the US is at record lows. I think it's like something in 1 in 10 Republicans has any trust in the mainstream media. Donald Trump is facing, some would say, an impossible balancing act, living up to the America First agenda, the no wars agenda, and America's role in the Israel-Iran conflict. Clearly, the Trump administration wants to demoralise the Iranian regime and ensure they don't get their hands on nuclear weapons, but how far do they go to make that happen? Here's what Secretary of State Marco Rubio said after Israel took action against Iran. He said, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believed this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target US interests or personnel. Army, this is very difficult for the Trump administration. How can Donald Trump manage the expectations of the no war members of the base, which are not insignificant in number?
Yeah, no, it's a very difficult situation. And frankly, look, we've talked about this before, and it's doubly true now. I think the Iran strike kind of highlighted this discrepancy and the split in the Republican Party between traditional Republicans and isolationist Republicans. I want to point out one thing first before I continue on down that road, is that when Israel was hit by ballistic missile after ballistic, like hundreds of ballistic missiles that slammed into Israel, killing Israelis, damaging buildings, the Iran deal, which is what Trump said he wanted to back out of it, he did in fact back out of it in his first administration, and went on and on saying we will never go back to that. Well, one of the reasons why we hated that and why that agreement was horrible was that they allowed Iran to continue to build and to develop ballistic missiles. And now you see the results today as these things are slamming into Israel, killing Israelis. I just want to point that out, okay? And why Trump took us out of that deal. But going back to the split, no, it's a significant issue. You can see, look, J.D. Vance, as someone who is aligned with the more isolationist view, he said something really interesting in the Kennedy Center not long before the attack on Iran, when he said, I'm not convinced Iran wants to build a nuclear weapon. I mean, what is he talking about? I know Trump doesn't believe that. Trump was firmly in the camp of they are trying to get it, and we will stop them no matter what it takes, including allowing Israel to do this. He knew Israel went to him and talked to him before the attack. He made that very clear, and Israel made that clear, and he gave him the green light because he understood that the talks with Iran that he was conducting were going nowhere. But when J.D. Vance says, I don't know if they want it, it reminds me, Louisa, I've told the story before. It reminds me of when I met with the Obama negotiators of the Iran deal, and I asked them the same question, and we're talking about Iran and nuclear weapons. They said to me, how do you know they want to build nuclear weapons? We're experts and we don't know. It's alarming to me that he used the same language as them. But look, Trump is firmly in the camp of we have to stop Iran, and I'm glad that he did. I think the world is better off for it, frankly.
Well, what do you see happening next? Are we going to see this conflict continue until Iran is demoralised to a point that any ambitions of having nuclear weapons is gone for the time being? Or really, if you need to cut off the head of the snake, do you need to have regime change? Because the mullahs aren't going to stop after this. They're just going to regroup and launch the next campaign.
Look, regime change is, of course, ultimately what everyone wants, right? Remember this. The Iranian people are great. Look, I am Iranian, okay? The Iranian people are pro-Western. A lot of them are pro-Israel, frankly. They're very practical. They understand how the world works. The compact between the regime and its people, the reason why the regime is still around is because they made a deal. They said, look, don't get involved in the way we run the country, and we will allow you to have a great life, a material life, business and money. Well, they failed, and they failed the Iranian people, that compact, right? And I think that ultimately that's what is going to push regime change, and that should come internally. We should not be pushing it ourselves, although we shouldn't be hindering it. Look, if you guys remember, there was a point in time where there was a possible revolution brewing in Iran, and Obama did not do anything to help the revolutionaries flip the regime.
No.
We definitely don't want troops on the ground. No question about it. But you want to help the people who are trying to reform that country. And he didn't do it. So yes, look, ultimately we don't know what's going to be the
No,
end
he
result.
really, that one of his great failures there was Army, where the Iranian people were putting their lives on the line, and America was entirely missing in that episode. Army Horowitz, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Always a pleasure.